fellow seekers, and welcome back to my channel. This is Amanda Artemis of Forrester, a rune reader, diviner, and polytheist mystic. I just had an interesting weekend, and it's brought up a couple things that I would like to talk about. So I literally just got home, so pardon me for looking a little disheveled, but I've read runes all weekend at the local metaphysical shop where I work. Yesterday was an 8-hour shift, and I pretty much got slammed. I think I had 9 readings all day. Some of them were 15, most of them were 15 minutes, but I had a few half-hour readings. And today I only had a few, but I had a 4-hour shift today. And so a couple different things have come up today, which has inspired me to make a few different videos. One about the subject of fate and how divination plays into that. That's going to be a much longer video. Thor, no! There go my dogs. Sorry, I apologize for them. I really wanted to get this out while I'm thinking of it. But this is going to be a much shorter video than the one about fate, which will be the next one I record. But the one that I wanted to talk about was words. The words that I choose to use and why I prefer polytheist, mystic, and diviner to psychic. Because most people would use the term psychic, or I am a reader. I read the runes. And if people want to call me a psychic, that's fine. But I do not call myself a psychic. I personally don't like that term. I don't like a lot of the new age baggage, I guess, that goes with it. The John Edwards stuff that comes to mind. But to me, I feel like a lot of what I do, even though it is a gift, most of it doesn't come from me. It comes from the gods. Like, I am reading the runes, but before each client, I pray with each client. I have a prayer to Odin that I say while I am holding the bag of the runes before we start. I am asking Odin, I literally say, let me be your vessel and speak whatever words that this client, this man or woman, needs to hear. So I don't feel as if it is my special psychic ability that is really coming through. I feel psychic to me feels a little self-aggrandizing. To me, I'm much more into the religious side of it, and I feel much more like a spiritual counselor. But priestess didn't fit. I am not ordained in any kind of practice or religion. I used to consider myself a priestess of Athena, and I used to actually run a temple out of my home. The Temple of Athena the Savior from 2009 to 2012. But that appellation no longer applies because that temple is now defunct. I will place links to the blog and pictures of the temple because I left pictures up so people can go look at it and be inspired, because we pagans sure love to look at pictures of other pagans' altars. You can see the altar to my household gods in the background. Hello. The skeleton is my ancestors, and that's Zeus and Hera, that's Artemis, Vesta, and the Agathosdaimon, and the little owl, Athena. There's a bowl on there somewhere, which is supposed to be for Sigyn. But, yeah. The terminology, words are very, very important. And every god I worship is a god of language, all the ones I've been close to. One subtle twist of a word completely changes perception. And so I know that it might be easier, and I might even get more customers if I changed my wording, but that feels really inauthentic to me. And I don't want to advertise myself as something that I'm not. So that's something I refuse to do, even if I have to go into a longer explanation about what I am. I'm also studying shamanism, a northern tradition shamanism, a heathen type of shamanism. But I refuse to advertise myself as a shaman because I have not earned that title. That title takes years, even decades, to call myself a shaman. So that is not going to go on my cards or on my bio. Now, if I'm talking to you about stuff, I might be able to recommend a few shamanic practices, but like very, very mild introductory stuff, mostly cleansings, simple cleansings. I recommended a sun cleansing meditation to a woman today. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, the heavy duty stuff, that's decades away. And maybe I'll get there and maybe I won't, but I'm sure as hell not going to advertise myself as being something that I'm not. So I feel like I want to bring these words more into conversation of, like some of my coworkers said, yeah, but normal people don't know what a diviner is. And I'm like, well, it's time to educate them. If you're coming into a metaphysical shop, you're not normal anyway. You're already into the new age stuff, right? You're already into crystals and chakra healing. So it's time to educate them and take that next step, in my opinion. So I prefer the term diviner to psychic. Now, if the girls that work in the shop need to tell me a psychic to explain it to someone, then sure, that's okay. But I will not self-identify as a psychic. That's not going on my bio, and I'm not going to call myself a psychic. I am a rune reader and a diviner, and I do use other forms of divination, but I prefer runes. I can do tarot. It is not my preferred modality. I've actually done Chinese astrology as well. That was actually one of the very first things that I got good at. But runes are the language that seems to speak to me the most, and they didn't. They flat out refused to work with me at first. And that was when I was a teenager, when I was more Wiccan than polytheist, and I didn't approach them as living spirits like I do now. I didn't know enough to. And now that I'm worshiping Odin and practicing heathenry, it is a completely different world. It really is completely different than people think it is. So, the best term that I can say is that I am a diviner and I am a polytheist mystic. Mystic seemed like the best term. I might get to shaman one day, but my skills seem to be in awakening people without even trying, even at work, where I am very, very toned down in my mundane job. Like, almost no one knows I'm pagan at work, like one person. But I have self-described as a big old hippie weirdo because I'm not going to, like, completely hide who I am. And even at work, people end up, like, asking me about essential oils and crystals and stuff. So, I mean, it is like, I don't know. People get drawn to me to ask questions. People who have that yearning want to know. And you probably know who you are if you're watching this, but I more or less might be responsible for one of my friends becoming pagan. Hi! Just from living my life and living my life as the way that I am. And when she had questions, I answered them earnestly, but I mean, I don't try to convert people. I don't shove it down anybody's throat, but I live my values. And if somebody says something negative about religious people in general, I take issue with that because I am religious. And it's like you're talking to someone who is deeply spiritual, religious, and spiritual and religious. And Christians do not have monopoly on the word religious. I am deeply religious. So polytheist mystic was the best term that I could think of. And mysticism is separate from the cerebral type of religion where you're thinking about it and you're being philosophical about theology, which is still good and necessary, but it's experiential. And so I have had a lot of experiences, and I can help guide people in understanding experiences that they have had. This is another one. I helped somebody yesterday interpreting a dream he had, and this was not expected. He had a very interesting dream, and because this is basically like being a priest, I will not give you the details of the dream. But he had a very interesting, very symbolic dream and had no idea what it meant. And he came into the shop, and one of the girls that worked up front said, "Oh, you should talk to Amanda." And so I had to ask him some questions about his life, because not only do symbols have universal meaning, but they also have personal meanings, and I ended up helping him to decipher the meaning of the dream. And he pretty much agreed with me when I gave him what I thought the dream meant. But I don't want to dumb down the words that I use. I am a polytheist mystic, I am a diviner, and I am a rune reader. I'm not going to put psychic on my cards. I will do readings. I am not going to put psychic on my bio. Technically, I suppose you could say I am, but I don't like all the baggage that goes with it. And I prefer to give all the glory to the gods. And there's also I have known people who do readings that when they're using only their energy to connect to the other person, they burn out quick. They might do it for a few years, and they're so exhausted by all the energy they're picking up. I shield myself, and I pray to my gods and spirits and to my ancestors, and my information is coming from above. They're the ones that are telling me what is going on. I might pick up some from the client, but I don't let all that energy in. And that's how I keep from burning out, especially having 9 readings in a day, and some of them were pretty rough yesterday. But I was able to help people that were in a spot where they needed it. And I'm not going to burn out the way some readers do, because I am not opening up myself. I think there's a misconception that you shouldn't shield when you read, that you need to be able to completely open, and it doesn't work that way. I used to think this. It wasn't until I read Galina Krasatova's On Divination that the light bulb went off, and I used to get horrible headaches from the miasma I'd pick up after a divination. I mean, the divination would work and it would be helpful, but I'd be laid out afterwards from all the energy I'd pick up, right? But now that I shield myself, it is so much easier, and it comes through better. My signal clarity from the gods is so much better. So much better. And it is amazing how it's made a difference, not just in how I recover and how I'm not picking up the energy of other people, but I'm actually a better reader than I was before. Because if you're picking up on your on your client's confusion, well, you're not actually going to be able to help them out of it, right? All you're going to be able to say is, yep, you're confused. I can feel your confusion. Oh man, that sucks. I'm being a little facetious. I'm being a little bit mean. I'm sorry. But the point stands. If you're really too tapped into their energy, you're not going to be able to help them out of it if you really feel into what they're feeling, because they can't find their way out of it, and that's why they come to you. But that is also why I don't like psychic, because what I am doing is not my own ability. It is coming from them. It is coming from them. So if someone else wants to call me psychic, that's fine. I guess technically I am. I still have issues with that word. But for my own cards, for my website, which I hope will be up soon, I'm bringing back the classic terms. Leo head shake here. I'm bringing back the classic terms. I am a rune reader, a diviner, and I am polytheist mystic, because I am a spiritual counselor as well as a reader. So, I guess that's all that I have for you today. I am still going to make a much longer video about fate and how that fate and weird and karma and that whole complicated mess and how that ties into divination. Sometime in the next week, I hope. It's going to be a pretty busy week for me. In any case, yeah. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope that going forward you have a beautiful full moon in Aquarius, because that is my full moon. My moon is in Aquarius, so I'm looking forward to Thursday. Please like, subscribe if you want to, but liking that, press that like button. That helps me a lot. Share the video if you're interested. Spread this around. I'm trying to just get some new information out there, and I know this is kind of a unusual subject, so I appreciate all my viewers, all 4 of you. Alright, I'm really leaving. This is Amanda Artemisa Forrester, signing off. You have a wonderful Sunday evening. Skull.